Okay, this is part 2 to the leaking sunroof 2008 Corolla repair. I have put a repair in place here, and I'll show you what I did. Just for those who maybe didn't see the first video, this is the sunroof. I've pulled back the headliner, and I had found that the plastic tube that went to the drain of the sunroof was chewed, and the story is that this apparently was done by a mouse. It looks like there was a mouse up there based on the evidence, and my daughter had the car for a period of time where she had parked it in the parking lot of her apartment building, but it was near a wooded area, and then she didn't drive it for a couple months or some period of time. She reported that there was a mouse in the car. Now, she didn't say that it was in the headliner, but this is probably what happened. So what I'm looking for on a repair here, first I cut this out. Okay, I'm reusing the clamp on that end. I found a piece of tubing, which is very similar in size. It's actually a little bit smaller. So for example, I can actually fit this tubing inside of the other tubing without any real difficulty, although I cannot do it easily with one hand, so I'm not really going to bother with that, okay? But the idea on this is, this was my first cut, and then I realized I had only cut it to the exact length. I wanted it to actually be somewhat longer because I wanted to stick inside that other tube for about an inch. And I might want to stick it onto the drain tube a little bit further than what this was, just because I might be able to. So anyway, I cut a piece that's about 1.5 inches longer than this. I put it in boiling water, okay? Because when it's in boiling water, it gets soft. And then I forced it over the end of this dowel, just working it over when it's hot, because this dowel is about the same size as the drain tube. In other words, it's very close to that size that I want to stretch it to. Okay, fine. So I did that. I put it on there, and then I slid on the original clamp in that area. You can see that up there in that area there. Okay. Then I pulled up on this section where I'd cut it by several inches. I didn't want to pull it up too far because I don't want to pull it up past any sort of a hole that it might be in down below. But I had to pull it up a certain amount because of where the damage was cut to. And anyway, it turned out to be a couple of inches. I was able to slide this tube in about 1 inch. I wanted to get it in probably more, but I couldn't, just because of my grip and what have you. But I did put this clamp on it, and I snugged it up. And the water flow, you'll see, will go from an opening into something. If it's draining properly, the water will never be exposed to this seam here because it's always flowing down. Only when a backup would it ever need to get by here. But this is tight anyway, so this probably should work. Now, what I'm going to try to do now is push this up and slide this tube back down to take out that slack, and hopefully I can get that kink out. Okay, I want to get this. Well, just hit pause while I try to get this position without a kink. Okay, that's what I ended up with. Okay, and I would say it looks like a reasonable attempt. Okay, as long as when I pulled this up, it didn't slip out from something and now the water's spilling down inside someplace instead of draining to the bottom. But we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. I can always give this the drain test and see if the water flows smoothly out to the bottom of the car. I can take the panels off at the bottom just to inspect it if I have to, but I hope I don't have to. Now this is just a matter of putting the headliner back on, okay? So in doing so, I'll give you some of the steps, just because this is one of the things you might want to do initially is to remove the headliner, but you don't want to break it, okay? And I had to take a chance because I really needed to get this off. So The first thing is I'm just going to push it back here. Second thing, I'm going to screw in this hand grip, and I will then screw in this visor, okay? And then I'm going to push in this thing. So I'll do this in stages. I'll use pause. I should also say that I did push this piece of plastic that was some type of a seal. It had some sort of rubberized coating on it. And when I took this out, it was more or less slightly mangled, as if the mouse had been playing around with that too. I just pushed it back into position. It may not function at 100% of what it used to be doing, whatever it was doing, I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, I just tried putting it back. Okay, I put this one in first. It's just, it might be a 10 millimeter. I just tighten that up. These things just snap open. I did put these two screws back in here. I will mention this will go in one of two ways. Only one of them is the correct way. The wrong way, it actually looks like it might go, but it doesn't quite go. And depending on how this thing got twisted around while you had it out, it may not be obvious, but if it doesn't seem to be going in, try putting it the other way and then rotate this around enough so that it clips into here. And then eventually it fit snug. Okay, now the last piece is the pillar. And the pillar has one snap right there, another snap right here, and there's no snap down there, it just clips in. So you can see these snaps, they're completely round and symmetrical. There's no orientation that you have to worry about. Okay, this just fits in there and then it snaps in place. Okay, I'm not gonna. Oh, and I should say, before I did that, one of the first things I did was I removed the weather stripping. Now, the weather stripping, because it was the first thing I did, I should probably take the weather stripping off and put the weather stripping on only after this is snapped in, so that I make sure that it goes over it. But that might not be critical. It might actually go in either way, but I'll just hit pause. Well, actually, I don't even have to do it, which is rather unusual that I could do that with one hand anyway. Okay, and when it's just those two clips, and getting it out, it's just a matter of, I would start at the top and just pull on it. We'll separate that clip, the second one, and then it pops out the bottom. No special instructions on the weather stripping here. It's not glued in or fastened in, it's just pressed on. Okay, I've got that in. And now, this repair is 100% done. It did have a stain here because of all the water that's come down here over the years, and this area here is softened. You know, it used to be probably firmer, but anyway, nobody will notice that. Okay, so it looks like it's good to go. I'm not going to test it now. It's raining out. And I'm almost sure that's what the problem was, obviously. Whether the repair is 100% sound, I'll test it on a sunny day where I can put the water in and make sure it drains out the bottom cleanly. And if necessary, I can look at it from the bottom. If for some reason the water is really collecting somewhere inside. I don't think it will, because I only pulled out the tube about 2 inches. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, thanks. Bye.